What's going on, guys? Dan with PC Tech Hustle coming at you with another video. And today I got for you guys a little bit of a different video. We got not a budget build video, but actually a returning client build that had a bit of an issue. This client actually spilled, unfortunately, some soda or some type of fluid down inside this O11 dynamic, and it went right through because there's really not anything to obstruct it. And it spilled right onto the graphics card and zapped the graphics card, which was, if you guys want to go check out the build in the top right corner being my first client build I did a little while back. He killed the graphics card, unfortunately. You know, I guess sometimes these things happen, hopefully a learning lesson, but that 980 Ti is now dead. So, though this was a bit of a project too, because I had to basically completely disassembled everything and wash it and get it all nice and clean again. So it was a bit of work. So I thought, what better way to provide you guys some content? Now, some upgrades are in order. He actually told me that he has a video card on the way for a replacement. It didn't take him long to order it after I told him it was dead, and I don't know what it is yet. So we're gonna part one of this video, put everything back together as it was, and I should have his video card arriving tomorrow night, which he said he wanted to surprise me with. So cross my fingers for something cool. Don't know yet, but either way, you know, this will make for some, I think, some pretty good content to put this build back together. But before we do that, if you guys are new here and you enjoy budget builds or kind of more high-end builds like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to tick the bell notification icon. That way you're informed of whenever I drop my latest content. Other than that, let's pan over to these parts, quickly go back over what we had before and what we're putting back into this, and that way we'll get underway with this build. Let's get cracking. Alrighty guys, so let's take a quick look at the parts like I mentioned, just to quickly go over it before we start reassembly. So we'll pan over here first to the motherboard. So we have the Gigabyte Aorus Z390 Ultra. So fantastic board, really good VRM, awesome for overclocking. And actually, since we're talking about overclocking, we'll grab this processor here, which we have is the i9-9900K. And we actually did have it overclocked for the client to 5 gigahertz before I gave it back to him. So we'll be putting those overclock profiles back on real quick after we get everything reassembled. So definitely a great board and processor for that. So let's move on over to the memory real quick. We have Corsair, Dominator, kind of the older Platinum style, but I mean, it's really sexy RAM still. This is two 16 gig modules for 32 gigs total at 3000 megahertz. So fantastic memory. Should be more than plenty for this setup, because actually he mainly just games on this setup. So moving on over to storage, since it's kind of in the way of other items that we're going to talk about. So we're just putting back in the drives that he had before. We got a 4 terabyte Seagate Barracuda for mass storage. Then we got another 500 gig Western Digital. This just something he had on hand and wanted to utilize. It's not considerable massive amount of storage these days, but still good if he wants to throw some games on for sure. We had a Samsung Evo 840 250 gig. Again, it's just stuff we're putting back in the rig. So this I think he had as using as one of his game drives. Oh, and forgot to mention underneath here, actually, speaking of storage, is a Samsung Evo 970 512 gig drive. So I'm just leaving it in the board since it's already there and no need to really take it out. So, and then for cooling, we have here is the Cooler Master 360 AIO, and got some of the fans sitting over here for that cooler, as well as 3 additional fans that we'll be putting back in the case. Here for power, we have a big old EVGA 850 watt gold rated power supply, so fully modular. So fantastic power supply. Can't recommend EVGA enough. So very good stuff. Then lastly, with the case is the O11 Dynamic. It is in pieces right now, actually. So sorry for that. I was disassembling it completely even removing the front panel controls because there was lots of sticky stuff on it. So anyway, that'll all be going back together, and those are your parts as we see here, all laid out on the table. So let's get cracking on the build and get this baby back together. Alrighty guys, so it is day 2 of reconstruction of this build, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that the client that had sent this build back to me said that he was going to surprise me with a new video card and wasn't going to tell me what it was. So today, got the package in, and here we go. Top of the line, ROG Strix RTX 2080 Ti. We're going to pan around to getting this installed in the system and get things bundled up. We only have some cable management left to do, and we should be well on our way to a fresh new running build. Alrighty guys, so we are just about fully reassembled here. We got about 95% of the build put back together. I did do a lot of the work off camera just because, I'll flip it around here real quick. Lord, this thing's heavy. The Cooler Master setup, as far as RGB goes, is a lot of cabling work, and that's also why the reason I didn't initially put that type of film in my original video of this build, just because, well, first one, I was kind of discovering how to actually kind of put the thing together, and two, like I said, it's a lot of work. So I'll quickly just run through the work here that's done, but basically we're at the point of GPU is installed, cable work is mostly done, as we can see here. Just have a couple little things to button up, and we are basically done. So let's take a quick closer look and pan to some beautiful B-roll shots after that, and we'll call this done. Alright guys, so here we have it. So basically all the cable work laid out. I'm going to install a drive on the back of the cable management plate that we have here. So that's kind of why some things are kind of just sitting here, kind of sticking out. And the RGB cabling is kind of a cause for some of the mess back here, but again, the good thing being that this plate will hide most of the messiness, which is great about Lian Li's case. Though, really, to make a setup like this that is as high-end and cable intensive as it is, I would really definitely suggest some custom cables. That way you can kind of debulk what's going on here. Like, this is, honestly, I don't know how you could get it too much nicer looking with stock cables from, like, say, the EVGA power supply, but regardless, you know, that's kind of where we're at. So I got the RGB controller here tucked off. It is magnetic, so it's just kind of sticking onto the power supply, which is good. And if you notice, I have some electrical tape going on because Cooler Master definitely needs to update their RGB implementation here. These pins will just pop out with almost barely any force at all. So definitely recommend putting some electrical tape down on the connections. Let's see if I can expose one here. I don't, yeah, kind of right there. So these would just literally snap apart if I did not have that in place. So anyway, just wanted to kind of point that out and why I didn't necessarily cover the cable management aspect of the build, which I normally do. This was just so intensive, and it actually was hours worth of work to get everything kind of planned out and mapped out, and just wouldn't have been really great entertainment value for you guys. So anyway, we're gonna finish up this build and get rolling on some B-roll here. Alrighty guys, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the rebuild process of this machine that I got back from a buddy who is also a client of mine that had a, as you know, a bit of a spill and caused some havoc with the machine, but overall, not too bad. We were only actually down a video card, which he replaced quite well, as you can see, with the 2080 Ti. I was absolutely blown away by that. He said he was going to surprise me, and he definitely did not let me down with that because, wow, after dealing with it and just having my hands on one, actually the first time I ever had my hands on a 2080 Ti, because I am a budget builder, and this has been an awesome experience. So unfortunately, guys, I'd love to be able to give you some performance numbers, but this build needs to go back to my client ASAP. He's been down at PC since about Sunday, and it is now going into Friday at the filming of this video, so I need to get this back to him. It was a pretty long process, tearing it all completely down, cleaning it out, and rebuilding it, so I need to get it back to him as soon as possible, and I can't quite benchmark it. But the good thing about that is, this isn't an unknown build. There is definitely plenty of i9 9900K 2080 Ti builds out there, so if you guys are really looking for performance numbers, it is out there. But this is really just a video to show you guys, because this was kind of a staple build for my channel. This was one of my original builds that I ever put out for my channel. It did pretty well, and I kind of wanted to give you guys a story about it because it came back to me and I had a little bit of an adventure with it. Aside from that, guys, I hope you found this video informative and also entertaining. And I'd just like to ask that before you go, make sure you check out the description down below where I have some links to some affiliate marketing. Definitely helps give the channel a little bit of a kickback, helps me keep producing this content and bringing it to you. And make sure you do the YouTube thing right. Give me a like if you enjoyed this. Give me a comment if you've got a similar build or if you've ran into similar situations where you've had to do a rebuild due to a part failure or something like that. I'd love to hear from you. And guys, in the description also I will have a full parts list of this build if you guys want to go back and take a look at those parts or actually maybe model this build for yourself. And before you guys go, make sure you check out these videos real quick. One being the actual original build video of this build that obviously now we can see has some clear differences. But other than that, thanks for tuning into this one, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.